Alright, what you're looking at here is the PC2000 coil binding machine. This particular model is a 4-to-1 pitch coil binding machine. 4-to-1 meaning that it punches 4 holes per inch. The PC2000 is also available in a 5-to-1 pitch machine, which means it punches 5 holes per inch. Coil binding is growing in popularity. The supplies are very inexpensive to use, and it has many nice advantages such as a very professional look and the ability to open up the book and have the pages lie flat. Now I'm going to show you a few different features of this machine, and I'm going to explain how to set it up and properly operate it. This machine is one of our best-selling coil binding machines because it gives you a coil inserter, the punch, and pretty much everything you need to get your coil binding operation started all in one unit. Many of the lesser expensive entry-level machines do not have the coil inserter, which means you'll be inserting the coils by hand, and that can take quite a bit longer not having that electric inserter. So to start with, what you've got here, first of all, is the base plate, which is where you'll set your paper to punch. You've got an adjuster here that you can loosen, and you can move this guide or adjustment left and right depending on the size of paper you're going to be binding. Now you want to make sure you get that lined up pretty well because you don't want to end up with half a hole punched on the end of your document. It'll easily handle an 11-inch long sheet of paper. It will also handle European A4 paper. We're going to be using 8.5 by 11-inch paper, so I'm going to slide this over. Ideally, the best place to start is on the 11-inch indicator here. So I'm going to line that up and just tighten that down. A few other adjustments that you want to look at. First of all, you've got an adjustment here. The coil inserter, you actually pull down a lever to activate that inserter. And that turns the motor on and off when you pull that down. Now there's an adjustment here where you can actually tighten that or loosen it, which will adjust how far the wheel comes forward. The reason you'd want to do that is if you're doing a larger coil, you won't need that inserter to come as far forward, and if you're doing a smaller diameter coil, you'll need that to be brought farther forward. With this smaller diameter coil, if you don't have that adjusted properly, the wheel may not even reach your coil and won't be able to insert it. Right now it's set at kind of a medium adjustment. Will work for the majority of the coils that we'll be using. And those are pretty much the fine-tune adjustments you'll need to worry about. Before you get started, this is a piece of 4-to-1 coil. You'll need to find a mandrel that fits that coil. Now these are different size mandrels for the different size coil that you can use. This looks like a mandrel that should work, and the easiest way to see if it'll work is just make sure that it fits through the hole on that coil and that it fits on there fairly well. You don't want too much slack, but you don't want it to be too tight either. And this is about the right size. So I'm going to take that mandrel, and what you do is you actually place it here, right in front of that electric inserter. Now depending on the size of paper that you're going to be binding, you'll want to lower that or raise it, just depending on the diameter of the paper. I'm going to keep that right now fairly level to the base of this machine, and I can adjust that very easily later on. Another adjustment that can be made depending on the size of coil you're using is you can actually slide this in and out. And what that does is it accommodates the different size coils as well. To start off with, you're going to need to feed that coil around this first notch here until you reach the beginning of the coil inserter wheel. Pull that down. You'll notice that I'm not hitting it. I'm going to slide this in just a little bit. And you can also adjust this as well to bring that inserter closer to the coil. Now I've got it fed onto the mandrel, and I'm going to show you how to punch the paper. One thing to keep in mind when you're punching paper, especially on a manual punch, or an electric punch for that matter, is to not punch too many sheets of paper at once. If it tells you to punch a maximum of 12 sheets of paper, I recommend to start off with about 9 to see how that works. Different paper works differently on different machines. Standard 20-pound copy paper is what's most commonly used with these machines, but if you're going to be using a cover stock or paper that's just a little bit thicker or a little thinner, the amount of paper that you can punch is going to completely vary depending on that. So now that I've got the paper rested up against this guide right there, I can actually bring this arm down and punch that paper. Now as you'll notice, I've got a little bit of a hole here on the end. I'm going to need to adjust this guide and bring it to the left just a little bit to accommodate that. Now, to keep from wasting more paper, I'm just going to punch this and see if I've adjusted that properly. And I've got all those holes punching properly now. There aren't any open holes. Now you don't want any open holes because, one, it doesn't look very professional, and two, the coils won't be able to hold a very good bind if the holes aren't closed all the way around. So now that I've got that properly adjusted, I'll start punching paper. And completely depending on the thickness of the paper you'll be binding, you may have to do this in several steps. Make sure that it's flush against the back of the punch so that the holes are punched evenly. As I'm punching, the punched holes, or the chad, is actually deposited in a catch tray that can be easily pulled out and emptied. You can see that we've done quite a bit of punching on this machine, and it's round holes that the coil binding machine uses. You can empty that and just slide it back in. It's very easy to change out. Now, one nice thing about the electric punches is that there's not as much manual labor involved. However, an electric punch will cost you a little bit more. Now I'm also going to put a cover and a back on my document. And once you've got everything punched, you'll just want to gather it together. And you're going to want to make sure that the holes all line up properly for the coil. Now, if for some reason you're having a hard time jogging this paper, we do have paper joggers that you can put the paper in and it'll jog everything up for you. Okay, I've got all of those holes lined up, ready to be bound. I've got the cover sheet, the end sheet, and the paper in the middle that I'm going to be binding. Again, it's very important that those holes are lined up or you'll run into some problems. Okay, I'm ready to insert that coil through about the first 2 to 3 holes. Now, the coil right now, to me, feels like the mandrel's just a little low, so I'm going to adjust that and bring that up just a little bit. And again, insert that through the first 2 to 3 holes. You also have this plastic guard that you lay down on top of the book before you bind it. That keeps the coil from flopping around and allows it to properly feed through all of the holes. Now I'm ready to pull the lever down and insert this coil. Alright. Now the coils are 12 inches long, which gives you just a little bit of room to work with on each side. One nice feature about this machine is if for some reason you need to add another page, or you decided that you just don't like the cover, or you want to make a modification, and this does have a reverse switch. So I can hit reverse, pull this arm down, and quickly pull that coil right back out. That's another nice feature. So I'm going to put that back in so we can bind this. Now once you've got the coil through the holes, you're almost done with the process. But in order to keep that coil from slipping back out, we have what are known as coil crimping pliers, which can be used to crimp that excess coil and keep it from slipping back through the holes. This particular set of pliers may vary by make and manufacturer. This one has a red dot. And to properly crimp this coil, I need that red dot to be facing in towards the book that I'm going to be crimping. So simply put it on the coil, make sure it's facing the right direction, clip the paper, and then kind of bend that coil in just a little bit. Now that's going to keep that from slipping back out through that hole. And you simply need to do it on the other side, again making sure that the red dot is facing in. And this can be a little tricky for beginners. But once you get the hang of it, it's really quick. And now that coil's not going to slip back out. It's in there very well. You can easily open up a book, have it lie flat, which is one advantage of coil binding. And it's very difficult to take apart, holds together very well. The coil binding is very popular with reports, promotional material. People use them for making their own books, binding their own books, and a wide variety of other applications, whether it be in the office, at a school, a church, any other location. Again, the 5-to-1 coil, the holes, because they are 5 holes per inch, are a little bit closer together than this particular style, which is 4-to-1. The advantage of the 4-to-1 binding is that you can actually bind a thicker book. The nice thing about the 5-to-1 binding is the holes are a little bit closer together, and some people prefer that look versus the 4-to-1. You'll notice here that there is a diameter guide that just lets you know about what the diameter is of the different size coils that you can bind on this machine. Okay, the PC2000 coil binding machine, again, creates a very professional looking document. It's very easy to carry around, move from one location to another, and just about anybody can figure this out and use it.